All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer, which is basically designed to be your ultimate revision guide for securing full marks in your upcoming English Grammar Board exams. Today, we're taking the absolute highest yield concepts from your 12 major grammar topics and distilling them down into a purely logical framework. So if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of grammar rules, believe me, we've all been there. You're in the right place. We're going to bypass all that endless rote memorization and look at the actual logic behind the language. Let's get started. Okay, let's kick things off by busting a massive myth. Seriously, this one costs students easy marks every single year. Think about it. When you look at an exam question and need to choose between a or an, what is the very first thing your brain does? You probably look at the first letter of the word, right? Well, actually, that is exactly where things go off the rails. You know, we've probably all been taught to just look at that first letter, but the absolutely crucial point here is that your ears, not your eyes, dictate whether you use a or an. The myth is that A goes before consonant letters and an goes before vowel letters. Scratch that. The absolute fact, straight from our source material, is that it is all about the sound. Vowel sounds get an an, consonant sounds get an A. It's a really subtle shift, but I promise you, it changes everything about how you answer these questions. So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, noun phrases and articles. Second, the sound rule test. Third, verbs and sentence changing. And finally, number 4, a final exam rapid review. Let's dive into Section 1, noun phrases and articles. Where do articles actually belong? Before you can even stress about choosing between a, an, or the, you have to know if an article is even allowed to be there in the first place. If there is literally one thing you take away today, let it be this. Articles exclusively modify nouns and noun phrases, never, ever a standalone adjective or adverb. English grammar dictates that out of all 8 parts of speech, only nouns get articles. Now, a noun phrase might have an adverb or an adjective stuffed in it, but the core, the heart of it, is a noun. And that's exactly what the article is pointing to. This logic is so cool because it beautifully explains how an article wraps around an entire phrase, kind of like a blanket. Think about the phrase, a very wise person. You aren't putting a before the adverb very. You're putting it before that entire noun phrase. I mean, saying he is a very makes absolutely zero sense without the noun person at the end to anchor the whole shebang. The article depends entirely on the presence of that noun. If the sentence was just, he is very wise, you literally couldn't use an article at all because there's no noun there to claim it. Now, just as important as knowing where to place an article is knowing exactly where to put a definitive cross on your exam paper. These are your zero article situations. As we just saw, standalone adjectives, they get a cross. You also never use articles before sports names. You play football, not the football. The same goes for languages. You speak English, not an English. And you never squeeze an article right after a possessive pronoun like my or his. Memorizing these strict boundaries is going to save you so much time and prevent those really frustrating, avoidable mistakes. All right, moving on to Section 2, the sound rule test. Remember, trust your ears, not your eyes. We're going back to that myth we busted earlier and applying a very specific game plan. Here is your foolproof step-by-step guide for solving those tricky article questions. Step 1, stop looking at the spelling. Step 2, start sounding it out. In the exam hall, just silently say the target word to yourself. Does the first syllable make an A, E, I, O, or U sound? If yes, boom, it's a vowel sound, drop an an. If it makes a hard consonant sound, drop an A. This simple 4-step process eliminates like 99% of careless errors because you're actually hearing the grammar in action. Okay, pop quiz. Let's test this logic out together right now. What do you think goes in these blanks, based strictly on the sounds? Read them out loud in your head. Do not look at the H in honest, and do not look at the O in one. Just listen to them. How'd you do? Did you catch the trick? Even though H is a consonant, honest starts with an O sound, which is a vowel sound, right? So it becomes an honest man. And conversely, even though O is a vowel, the word one starts with a hard wa consonant sound. Therefore, it's a one taka note. See how the spelling actively tries to trick you? This is exactly why the sound rule is your absolute best defense. Okay, let's turn up the heat a bit. Abbreviations and U words. These are incredibly common board exam traps that catch people off guard every single year. Again, apply the sound test. How do you actually pronounce the very first letter of HSC? And how do you pronounce the start of university? Think about it.
SSC is actually pronounced with an A sound right at the beginning, ASSC. So it requires an N. It's an NSSC student. Meanwhile, university starts with a hard consonant U sound, making it a university. Once you start trusting your ears over your eyes, these questions transform from stressful traps into literally the easiest marks on the paper. Next up, Section 3, Verbs and Sentence Changing, breaking down complex structures. Let's shift gears from articles to verbs and sentence structures. This is where you can make massive gains with the simplest frameworks. A lot of folks get totally overwhelmed by the sheer variety of verb rules, but according to our source material, the right form of verbs is actually super straightforward once you realize you're strictly choosing from a fixed menu of these 6 specific formats. That is it. Whether you need the base form, the past participle, or a gerund ending in ing, every single verb question is just asking you to pick one of these 6 tools based on the tense and context clues. And when it comes to transforming sentences, like changing an assertive statement into an exclamatory one, you do not need to guess. Just follow this rigid step-by-step logic. The secret trick? Scan the original sentence for an article. If the assertive sentence says, "It is a very charming scenery," you see that A, right? So you immediately start the exclamation with, "What? What a charming scenery it is." If there's no article present, you use how. It's a purely mechanical, foolproof method, and it works every single time without altering the core meaning. We are in the home stretch. Section 4, Final Exam Rapid Review. Consider this your ultimate cheat sheet. As we wrap up this explainer, get ready to take a mental screenshot of this. These are the absolute core formulas that examiners test year after year. Look at the definite article rule. If you see a blank followed by a noun and then the word of, 99% of the time, the goes in that blank. For example, the development of. Then we have the double comparative. The more you read, the more you learn. For completing sentences with while, if there's no subject right after it, jump straight to the VING form, while walking. But if there is a specific subject, use the past continuous, while I was walking. And finally, for pronoun reference, always make absolutely sure words like he, she, or it point directly back to one specific, perfectly clear noun. So now that you have this framework to secure those top marks, from isolating noun phrases to mastering the 6 verb forms, the ball is really in your court. Are you going to fall back into old habits, just staring blindly at the letters, or will you use this logic to absolutely dominate your exam? Remember, grammar isn't just about memorizing endless rules. It's about understanding structural frameworks and actually trusting your ears. Good luck with your revision. Keep focused, and you've got this.